Welcome to Hidden Points. Today, we're exploring a truth almost every woman has felt but few ever talk about. It's a truth that sits quietly beneath years of being polite, agreeable, pleasant, accommodating, and endlessly understanding. It's a truth that becomes unavoidable the moment life places you in situations where you realize that being the nice girl doesn't protect you, doesn't reward you, and doesn't guarantee love, respect, or recognition. For many women, being nice becomes a silent burden, a shield that slowly turns into a trap. The shocking reality is that nice girls don't finish last because they are kind or compassionate or emotionally generous. They finish last because their niceness is often conditioned rather than chosen. It's a psychological pattern shaped by childhood expectations, social pressure, and the deep-seated fear of rejection. The famous psychologist Carl Jung would say that this nice girl identity is not your authentic personality, but a persona non outer mask created to stay safe, avoid conflict, and ensure you belong. And while the persona may win approval, it often loses the very things it was meant to protect, leaving women feeling unseen, unheard, and unvalued. Niceness without boundaries becomes self-erasing, and when you erase yourself to keep the peace, the world responds to the version of you that is convenient, not the version that is real. This is where the psychological problem begins. Being overly nice trains the brain to associate your worth with your usefulness, love with your compliance, acceptance with your self-sacrifice, and safety with your silence. Over time, this creates a pattern where a woman shapes herself around the needs of others while disconnecting from her own. She learns to anticipate everyone's emotions except her own, to soothe tensions she didn't create, and to carry responsibilities that aren't hers. She learns to stay quiet to avoid making anyone else uncomfortable, until niceness becomes a prison built from the fear of being too much, too emotional, too loud, too assertive, too direct, too opinionated, or simply too real. This fear is not accidental. Many girls grow up being praised for politeness instead of honesty, for pleasing others instead of expressing themselves, and for adapting instead of asserting their own needs. The unconscious mind learns a powerful lesson. Being agreeable is safer than being authentic. This lesson carries straight into adulthood, where nice girls often attract people who take more than they give. They find partners who depend on their emotional labor, friends who rely on their endless patience but never reciprocate, and coworkers who benefit from their helpfulness while taking all the credit. They end up in environments where their silence becomes expected rather than appreciated. The heartbreaking truth is that being nice becomes the very thing that drains them, leaving them exhausted, invisible, and emotionally empty. This isn't because kindness is a weakness. It's because kindness without boundaries teaches the world that you will always overextend, always tolerate, always forgive, always bend, and always stay, no matter the cost to yourself. Jung emphasized that the psyche rebels whenever a person suppresses their authentic self for too long. This means that the nice girl eventually feels a buildup of resentment, anger, or emotional burnout feelings she is not used to expressing and often doesn't understand how to handle. These suppressed feelings don't just disappear. They manifest as vivid dreams, chronic stress, anxiety, physical tension, or sudden emotional outbursts. This is the shadow, the repressed part of the psyche pushing back. It's revealing a deeper truth. Beneath the compliant niceness is a woman who wants to be heard, a woman who wants to say no, a woman who demands respect and reciprocity, a woman who wants to stop carrying everyone else's emotional weight and stop betraying herself to maintain a harmony that benefits everyone but her. When a woman begins to recognize this inner rebellion, she faces a critical choice: continue being the nice girl and live in emotional silence, or start reclaiming the parts of herself she abandoned to earn approval. The moment she chooses herself, she begins to see the deeper psychological pattern. She sees the truth that being nice has been less about kindness and more about fear of disappointing others, fear of being judged, fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of losing relationships, fear of being misunderstood, and ultimately, fear of being alone. Once she sees that fear is the foundation, she also sees that her niceness was never strength. It was a survival mechanism. And people who sense this unconscious fear often take advantage of it, not always maliciously, but instinctively. Humans naturally lean on the people who make things easy, who don't push back, who don't set limits. who don't demand accountability, and who don't challenge problematic behavior. When a woman stays overly nice, she teaches others that she is safe to disappoint, safe to overburden, safe to ignore, and safe to overlook. And the world responds accordingly. This is why nice girls finish last. It's not because they lack value or worth, but because they have been conditioned to give it away freely without expecting or requiring anything in return. This pattern only changes when she reclaims her boundaries, her voice, her preferences, her needs, her identity, and her internal authority. Psychologically, the moment a woman stops trying to be universally liked is the moment she becomes respected, seen, valued, and taken seriously. This shift doesn't require her to become cold, rude, harsh, or unkind. It simply requires her to become whole, to allow herself to express the parts of her personality that were previously forbidden, to say no without guilt, to communicate her needs without fear, to exist without shrinking, and to stop apologizing for having needs in the first place. This is the turning point where niceness evolves into something healthy, intentional, and strong. A woman who chooses kindness, instead of being conditioned into it, becomes powerful, grounded, confident, and emotionally sovereign. This psychological transformation doesn't erase her sensitivity or compassion. It enhances them, because now she is no longer giving from a place of obligation, but from a place of choice. She is no longer sacrificing herself to maintain relationships that drain her, and she is no longer confusing approval with love. When she reaches this level of authenticity, she becomes someone others cannot overlook. Healthy boundaries create value. Clarity creates respect. Self-expression creates genuine connection, and authenticity creates a natural magnetism. The woman who once finished last begins to rise, not by becoming less kind, but by becoming more whole, more honest, more balanced, and more herself. She proves that the phrase, "nice girls finish last," was never about the weakness of kindness, but about the tragedy of self-abandonment. And the moment she stops abandoning herself is the moment she stops finishing last forever. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more insights.